for dengue and chikungunya in the country. With her professional and practical insights, provided technical support and guidance to states for successfully containing outbreaks of dengue, chikungunya, and Zika in India. As head of the entomology vector control, she is currently involved in the strengthening of entomological infrastructure in the country for surveillance, insecticide resistance monitoring, integrated vector control, and coordination with research institutions involved vector-borne disease. She has more than 35 years experience in the various field of vector-borne disease. Dr. Barua has developed many guidelines for the national program, of which mosquito and other vector control response is most recent one. So Dr. Barua has published many scientific papers in the national and international journals, contributed chapters to scientific documents. She is a PhD supervisor and examiner of Indian universities and reviewer of many scientific journals. She is a fellow of Indian Society for Malaria and other communicable diseases and a life member of National Academy of Vector-Borne Diseases, India, and Zoological Society of Assam. Now I request Dr. Barua kindly start.
Thank you, Dr. Sharma, for this nice introduction. Good evening to all. The directors of Absolute Human Care Foundation, Dr. R.R. Sharma ji, Dr. R.S. Sharma ji, Dr. P.K. Srivastava, Dr. P.S. Sinha, Rajiv ji, and all the participants and friends. I'm really grateful to the directors of this foundation. They have chosen this topic. This is very important topic in the present time because, you know, India, we are having this COVID outbreak this time when pandemic is there. Parallel dengue is also ongoing, and most of our attention is today towards this COVID only. So through this, through this topic today, we want to sensitize the participant that why dengue is so important. And today's this presentation is not directly to the program orientation only. It is the others also who are in the research field or those who have little or very, no knowledge about dengue, because there are many new entrants in the program at the district level, at the zone, who are not introduced. So with your permission, I would like to start my presentation. Dr. Sharma. Some child.
I do not know. It is very difficult to find out whose voice is coming, because most of the people, they have switched off and muted, but some are not muted. I do not know.
Yeah, Dr. Tulli has to now.
Dr. Tulli, namaskar.
Video. Yeah, namaskar.
वो मैं कर लूँगा. आप अपना शेयर कीजिए स्क्रीन.
Yeah.
उधर जाके खेलो ना. उधर चली जाओ.
जो जिनकी आवाज आ रही है वो अपना म्यूट कर दे माइक.
सर ये बच्चों की आवाजें आ रही है बहुत पीछे से.
कौन सा आप बोल रहे थे जाके बाहर खेलो? उनका नाम.
Is it visible? Is it visible?
No.
No, madam, no visible.
Not visible. Video is not coming.
हाँ आ गया. इसको स्क्रीन उस पर डालिए.
आ गया?
हाँ आ गया. उसको वो कीजिए.
अभी आ गया मैडम.
हाँ. So understanding dengue transmission and control. So my this presentation, this includes the introduction of dengue, the disease burden, transmission and factors responsible, national strategy, prevention and control, and challenges. So in all these, parts I will be talking now. Now, let us go a little bit about the history, the evolution of dengue. If you see in the ancient publication, there is mention that during this Qin dynasty, 265 to 420, it is AD, there is mention of dengue, like some diseases are there. Then epidemics of illness resembling dengue occurred in 1779, then 1780 in 3 continents of Asia, Africa, and North America. So global epidemic began after the Second World War. in Manila, the first outbreak of dengue DHF was reported in 1953. In India, the first dengue virus was isolated in 1945. It is also from these the people, the soldiers who returned from during the World War, they suffered from fever, and their blood, when it was some particles were isolated there, and I think I'm audible. Am I audible?
Yes, madam.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
ma'am.
you. Thank you. So, and the same time, there's a dengue, there's a other part of the world also dengue virus was isolated, and first dengue outbreak, the occurrence of dengue official record is in 1956 from this Vellore city of Tamil Nadu. In 1963, Kolkata reported the first dengue hemorrhagic fever outbreak. You see the global distribution and population at risk. So the global incidence has dramatically increased in the recent years. In the last 3 decades, it is 50-fold. There's it has expanded tremendously. Here, though I'm saying that it is 128 countries, after this publication, one more country was added, Afghanistan was added, so 129 countries. And for this 400 million infection each year from these countries are getting reported to WHO. So globally, if you see, 4 people are at risk, and in Southeast Asian region of WHO, 52% of this global population is residing in the Southeast Asian region. From 2000 to 2019, at least 600% increase of dengue cases are reported from many areas. Now I'm coming to India, the annual trend. If you see the cases from 2010, I'm showing here, in 2017, maximum number of dengue cases were reported. It was 1.9 lakh cases. And last year it was 1.6 million almost. And this year we are having less number of cases. Might be the transmission is taking place now. It will be gradually, the number will be increasing. And if you see the case fatality rate, as Dr. Sharma has in the beginning mentioned that in 1996, the case fatality rate was 3.3%. And gradually it has been brought down. And now it is, we have introduced the dengue case management guidelines. It was in 2007, then it was updated in 2014, and recently again we have done it. And if you can see, the gradually after the introduction of our national guidelines and repeated these trainings of capacity building of the doctors on case management, this case fatality rate has come down. There's a national target is we have to maintain the case fatality rate of dengue at 1% CFR. And we are sustaining well below that since a long time. All the states and union territories in India are reporting dengue cases, except Ladakh, which has been introduced. This UT has been bifurcated recently because it is in the high altitude. India contributed 6% of the total cases of Southeast Asia region in 2009, which increased to 26% in 2016 and then to 35% in 2018. All age group of both the genders are affected. It's not like that in some Southeast Asian countries. There, they say that dengue is a pediatric issue, pediatric problem like Thailand and other countries. But in India, we have both the genders are affected, and mostly this adult population is affected. All 4 serotypes are in circulation in India. And recently we are observing urban to rural shift. Almost 40 to 50% of the cases in certain states are reported from the rural areas. I'll be coming to that. Now, those cases which we have shown here, the number of cases if you see here, this pyramid, in the blue color, non-severe dengue, severe dengue, and death. So these are the cases. Only the surveillance data, this is the passive surveillance, can capture this clinical burden only. And you might be coming across many publications. There are many news that India is having many more cases, but the national program is unable to capture. Yes, we are unable to capture because we are capturing only the clinical burden, not the community burden, which is it is self-managed dengue or inapparent dengue. Because you know, more than 80% of the cases are asymptomatic. Those cases are not being captured by the system. So we are concerned for this clinical burden because the public health measure has to be taken there. The case has to be managed there. So our system capture this data only. Now now coming to the seasonal trend. What I have said that the cases are started increasing. You can see the maximum cases are from August onwards, and the peak transmission somewhere earlier it was in September, it was gradually October and November, and the transmission will be, you know, in the post monsoon and during the monsoon season, the transmission will be ongoing. In the southern and the western part of the country, if you see those states in the South India and the western part of the country, the transmission of dengue is round the year. And seasonal in rest of the part, like northern, northeastern and eastern part of the country. Now, after that, we are talking about dengue. What is dengue? What is the infectious agent, the dengue virus? Dengue fever, it is caused by these antigenetically distinct but closely related viruses, which we know as serotypes. Dengue 1 to 4. It belongs to the genus Flavivirus and family Flaviviridae. The nucleotide sequencing has revealed existence of 4 these serotypes, and each serotype, they are having various numbers of genotypes. Then 1 is having 3, then 2, 6, then 3, 4, then 4, 5. And then 2 and then 4, they are having one this non-human, that is, genotype, which in fact the primates. Among these, the dengue 2 is the most virulent one. Severity, of course, depends on the virulence of the genotypes as well. Now, come to this transmission pathway and the virus replication. Here, you can see that, you know, how the dengue virus enters to the human body. Yeah. First of all, let us discuss about the man-mosquito that cycle. The mosquito, when it bites the infected person, it will pick up the virus. That dengue virus, it will go to the midgut, then it will be released in the midgut epithelial tissue. There it will replicate in the midgut epithelial tissue, it will be replicated, and then it will infect the other tissues like there's hemocytes, then body fat, and then reproductive system. It will be infected, all these organs will be infected in the mosquito, and then it will gradually accumulate in the salivary gland. And when the mosquito, when it will be taking another blood meal after completion of the incubation period, after this development, the virus will be ready to pass on to the newer person. You know, once infected, the mosquito will remain infected throughout the life. It can infect as many as blood meal it will be taking. And during the process of one blood meal, due to the biological behavior of the feeding, it cannot, bites during the daytime and it cannot complete the full blood meal at one go. That's why during the course of that one blood meal, it will be biting on several people, it will feed on several people, and it will be infecting several people, and giving this clustering of cases of dengue are reported. Now, when it bites the person, the healthy person, it will through the saliva, it will introduce the virus into the human body. In the human body, the dengue virus will be attached to the skin surface of the host cell, and then it will enter through the this endocytosis. Then once deep inside the cell, you can see here, once deep inside the cell, the virus fuses with the endosomal membrane, and then it is released into the cytoplasm. The virus particle comes apart, releasing the virus genome. And this genome, it is a single-stranded positive RNA. This is also known as the messenger RNA. It functions like that. Then subsequently, it will be translated by the cell machinery for generating the viral protein. The assembly of this assembly of the dengue virus occurs in the endoplasmic reticulum. Then there's after this endoplasmic reticulum, the virus assembly, it will occur there, it will be multiplicated. Then through the Golgi apparatus or Golgi apparatus, it will be then secreted out to the out of the cell, and it will be infecting the new virus, new cell. And with this process, like Plasmodium, we know this is the process here, and by following this process, the virus, it will be replicated, the RNA will be replicated, the virus will be multiplicated, and it will then infect many other cells. Though this is the main route of transmission, the vector man-mosquito vector, that is man-mosquito-man is the main route, but there are reports of non-mosquito transmission as well. There are this nosocomial, this transmission, that is during the medical care, during the blood transfusion by asymptomatic volunteers. If dengue virus is there in the non-asymptomatic cases, it can enter to the people, and transplacental transmission is also documented. So how the transmission occurs? We have said that man-mosquito-man. The major vector is Aedes mosquito. Human beings are the primary host, and the non-human primates, as I have said, it's a zoonotic disease originally, and now it is not zoonotic. Infection can be acquired by a single bite of infected female, that is the Aedes mosquito, and it can be symptomatic and asymptomatic. Why I said that it was a zoonotic disease? If you see, originally, this was there's a sylvatic cycle. It was maintained through vertical transmission. Aedes aegypti, Aedes albopictus, or Polinesiensis, or Mediovitatus, all these vectors in the jungle cycle, it was maintaining there the forest or enzootic cycle was maintained there, and by accidentally it spill over to the human being, and their first epidemic occurred, and then it was maintained by the Aedes mosquito, and finally in the urban setup it got established. In certain areas it is now endemic, and certain areas, newer areas, when it is entering their in the epidemic form, the dengue transmission is ongoing. So vertical transmission is established, and there they maintain the virus from in the nature. Now, what are the common symptoms of dengue? Dengue actually has 3 phases. It is febrile phase, critical phase, and convalescent phase. So in the febrile, it is sudden onset of fever, headache, then mouth and nose bleeding, then muscle and joint pains, and most importantly, behind the eyes, that is retroorbital pain, is very prominent in dengue, and that's how by clinical symptom it can be understood. So muscle and joint pain will be there. Then in the critical cases, there will be vomiting, there will be rashes. Sometimes GI tract is also infected, the diarrhea will be there. Then hypotension, Then pleural effusion is there because plasma leakage will be there. There will be fluid accumulation there in the lungs or the abdomen, which can be seen through the X-rays only. The recovery phase is there. There are altered sensorium will be there. Then seizures are sometimes observed. Then itching is there and slow heart rate. These are the common symptoms. I'm not going to in-depth symptoms. So I've been talking some this incubation period and then transovarian transmission. Let us discuss about this epidemiological fact. Dengue cannot be spread directly from person to person. So the mosquito has to transmit it to the human being. In the mosquito, it is extrinsic incubation period or EIP. Viral incubation period between the time when a mosquito takes a viremic blood meal and the time that the mosquito becomes infectious. It is known as extrinsic incubation period, and it may vary 8 to 12 days. During this time of the season when there's very temperature, humidity, then this rainfall, everything is so congenial. It is almost 8 days only. You can say that it is becoming ready for transmit the disease. An intrinsic incubation period, that is inside the human. Once the infected bite, the mosquito, infected mosquito bite the human being, the virus is introduced into the body, and the time from the human being is infected and onset of the symptoms due to infection, clinical infection, that is intrinsic incubation period. It can vary from 3 to 14 days. And during this time of period when this condition is very suitable, then it can multiply, it can develop very quickly. That's why the cases increase tremendously. And during this winter period, the both EIP and IIP takes longer time. That's why less cases are there in this northern and the northeast and the eastern part where the winter is intense. Transovarian transmission, like we call mother to child transmission. If as I already mentioned, that if the female is infected, once it infected, it will remain infected throughout the lifetime. So whatever the egg that Aedes aegypti female will be laying, she will be passing through the virus through these eggs to the next progeny as well. So this is the way how the virus is maintained in the nature, but how much it can contribute to the epidemic, there is no epidemic or some endemicity. This is, I mean, many studies are there. Someone says that yes, the contribution is very high. Some studies says no, the contribution is bare minimal. So it is not very conclusive, but yes, it maintained in nature. Clustering of dengue cases, already mentioned that this is due to this feeding behavior of the mosquito, that it feeds on it feeds on many people to complete the blood meal. During the process, it introduces the virus to many, many persons at one time. That's why the clustering of dengue cases occur. You might have come across that in a family, there will be 3-4 people, they will be down with dengue at the same time. This is the reason. When dengue cases are occurring in one places, in one ward, or one locality, there will be many dengue cases. That is the clustering of cases. Desiccation or overwintering of eggs. When eggs are laid, if the Aedes can lay egg in a very less water. 1 spoonful of water also it can lay egg. But if the water evaporates, the egg cannot survive, and it has to, the egg has to hatch to the larvae. So how it will be surviving? Because in the nature, all these life they have to survive. That's why they have developed a process of overwintering. Like, let me give one example of these coolers. when people use the cooler, during this time people are using the cooler, and when gradually this humidity will be more, they won't be using the cooler. The water won't be used. But when the coolers are used that time, mosquito might have laid eggs there, and now it is not being used. That's why the coolers, the eggs which are there now, those eggs are that will get stuck to the cooler, that grass, and next time when it will be refilled, immediately within 24 hours these eggs will be hatched into larvae. Process is known as desiccation or overwintering. It can be more than 1.5 years. So these are the life cycle of mosquito. As I have said, it completes as egg, larvae, pupae, and adult. And these are some common breeding habitat.
Now 1 second. Kalpana, 1 second. I'm just muting all and then I will open yours.
Okay, fine.
Now you can unmute your. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So Aedes aegypti commonly encountered up to 1,700 meter, means altitude up to 1,700 meter. You can get Aedes, but in Mexico and some other areas they have recorded up to 2,130 meters. I think my slides not, okay, it is moving now. Now let us discuss a few facts about this Aedes binomics also. Aedes is a holometabolous insect. What is holometabolous? You see here, egg, larva, pupa, adult. Complete metamorphosis occurs throughout the development. So that's why it is a holometabolous insect. Then the adult emerges from the pupal case after 2 days. You know, one very interesting fact about this mosquito pupa. In other insects, the pupa is immovable. You might have noticed the cocoons and other pupal case of other insects, it will be lying in one place. But here the mosquito, in the water, the pupa can also move. After 2 days from the pupa, the adult will come out, and the adult, it will move. Sorry? Some noise is coming. So the adult will move from the surface of the water to cool to the moist areas where they will mate and begin the life cycle. The fertilized female must have 1 to 3 blood meal to allow her eggs to mature for laying. But this part, I mean, in India and this part of the season, 1 blood meal is sufficient. And here each of the blood meal, it will be ingested 2 days, and then the eggs will be ready. A female can produce up to 200 eggs per batch or per clutch. Numbers of eggs produced depends on amount of the blood consumed. Female is capable of producing up to 5 clutches in her lifetime. So 200 in 1 clutch up to 5 clutches means 1 female will be laying 1,000 eggs. All those they will again emerge to the adult. I mean, the female, what will be the number of female that will be laying egg. Just you can multiply how much you can imagine the number of female it will emerge from 1 female. That's why the mosquito is always very challenging, mosquito control. The female mosquito will not lay egg in the entire clutch at a single site, but rather spread out the eggs over several sites. Why? Because
हाँ हो गया।
चलाए?
प्लीज।
या कहीं पी के आपके घर के बाहर तो कोई आवाज नहीं हो रहा है?
नहीं, किसी का पंखे का या किसी का उसका आवाज आ रहा है, क्योंकि हम तो अनम्यूट करके तब बात करते हैं, फिर हम म्यूट कर देते हैं।
अच्छा, थैंक यू। The female mosquito will not lay the entire clutch at a single site, but rather spread out the eggs over several sites. Because if the water evaporates, or in the small containers there, people can eliminate the breeding sites. At least some of the eggs will remain to maintain the progeny. The Aedes mosquito can fly up to 400 meters, but usually it remains close to the human habitation because it gets the blood meal there. That's why hardly it flies, but otherwise it can fly up to 400 meters. That is the reason why in the airport survey, we called in the international health regulation, it is mentioned that airport and ports, now up to the 400 meters, it should be Aedes mosquito breeding free. So how you can identify the Aedes mosquito? You know, Aedes aegypti and Aedes albopictus, both are there. Their body is narrow and typically black. Unique patterns of light and dark scales on the abdomen and the thorax. There's alternating light and dark bands on the legs. Aedes characteristically hold their body low and parallel to the ground, with the proboscis and angle downward when landed. This is a characteristic feature. The females are further distinguished by the shape of the abdomen, which usually comes to a point at the tip, but their maxillary pulp, that is the sense organ, you can say, which are shorter than the proboscis. Now, I'm saying Aedes aegypti or Stegomyia aegypti. You might be coming across many literature. Somewhere they are saying Stegomyia aegypti, somewhere they are saying Aedes aegypti, Aedes albopictus, even Stegomyia albopicta. It is correct. The correct is Stegomyia aegypti. If you write, then inside the parenthesis or bracket, you have to write is equal to Aedes aegypti. It is the process to be followed as the taxonomical this nomenclature. So it is very important. I thought I will share with you so that somewhere if you come across Stegomyia aegypti, you should not be confused that it's a new species. Of course, there are 137 Aedes species. So what are the underlying causes for geographical spread? We are talking about so many areas are affected by dengue, entire country. So demographic and societal changes. So many diseases, we call that, these non-communicable diseases, that lifestyle related diseases. Here also you can say it is a lifestyle related diseases. People are having cooler, people are having other water storage facilities, and they are not filling the water every day for day-to-day use because pipe water is there, and demographic changes is there. Everywhere you will find is new construction will be there, population growth is there. Then solid waste management. Even the metropolitan cities like Mumbai, Delhi, then Bangalore, Chennai, Kolkata, they do not have a very good solid waste management system. Forget about the others. Water supply is also very erratic, leading to the storage. Then suboptimal vector control. Why? This is very important because we do not have these entomologies in every, in all the state, even the zones many of the zones are also vacant. That's why when we need to take some vector control strategy, we are not doing any proactive activities. Always we are taking these reactive actions only. When some cases are there, with this minimal number of entomologists, that we are taking these reactive activities so that the transmission can be controlled. Then infrastructure, I said already, in Then inadequacy in reporting from private hospital and laboratory, they are not reporting timely, or it is missing. Then automobile industry is also one of the reasons for the spread of the disease and population movement. Lack of community ownership and response. The people think that it is the responsibility of the health department. So, but dengue cannot be controlled by health department alone. It has to be made, made people aware of the community ownership and intersectoral. There's a convergence, interdepartmental convergence is very important for there's a prevention and control of dengue. Legislative measures are also needed wherever repeated. There's Aedes breeding is there. Some legislative measure has to be implemented. Absence of effective drug and vaccine, one of the very important aspect, and significant increase in the plantation, rubber, pineapple, etc. has led to this Aedes albopictus breeding. So what type of tools Government of India is having for to fight dengue? We have many guidelines, we have investigation tools, we have vector control tools and IC materials. All these are already shared with the states as well. Now coming to the national strategies and guidelines on dengue. You can see here for transmission prevention, we have this midterm plan. Then there's for community involvement. This is the effective community participation guideline. Then IVM guideline is there, and recently there's MBCR document we have released. We have launched this one. And then for case management, India has its own guideline. Many people, when you come for this guideline, you say we are following the WHO guideline. It's good, you can refer. But WHO guideline is generic type. So every country, they are having their own national guideline. So I will be requesting you that you follow WHO guideline. We don't have any harm, but you should not get confused. Follow the national guidelines, whatever the strategy nationally, we have to adapt in the local situation to prevent these dengue outbreaks. Now come to the case definition. The data which I have shared with you now, that is confirmed dengue fever. Of course, we are capturing this probable dengue fever also. Clinical or the RDT positive cases are taken as probable dengue fever, and the confirmed dengue fever are with the ELISA, whether it is NS1 or IgM or this PCR. As I said, Government of India recommends this ELISA-based diagnostics for this initial stage. This is NS1 based, NS1 non-structural protein. Dengue has 7 non-structural protein. NS1 appears the first. That's why the diagnostic is, it targets NS1. In the first 5 days of illness, it is very important. If we can diagnose these cases, then the transmission can be restricted. And if someone is found positive by NS1, he or she should be asked to be at home so that the transmission can be reduced. IgM ELISA, it is produced by National Institute of Virology, Pune, and it is supplied to all the laboratories identified by Government of India free of cost. We have 696 Sentinel Surveillance Hospital and 16 Apex Referral Laboratories under the network, which is providing this diagnosis of dengue. RDT under the program is not recommended because the results are not reliable. I said NS1. If you see the NS1, it is very early, it appears because it is the viremic stage, and it gradually after 5 days, it declines. That's why program recommends up to 5 days to capture the NS1, diagnosed by NS1, and after that, the IgM appears. And this is in the primary infection, but in the secondary infection, NS1 is the same, IgM is very short, and IgG continues. IgG says that these are the old case. So IgM says these are the recent infection, and NS1 are the active cases. And these are the laboratory I already mentioned that we are having these all over the country. Medical college, 31% laboratories are in the medical college, 57% are in the district laboratories, and 12% are identified in the public health laboratories. What are the roles and responsibility NBBDCP has given to the Sentinel Surveillance Hospital and the ARLs? Collecting blood samples from suspected patients with fever syndrome and processing of the samples for serologic confirmation. It will be done by the Sentinel lab. It will send the sample for virus isolation to the Apex lab. It will maintain the line listing of the cases, the suspected, probable, or confirmed cases. This because they are the public health measure has to be taken. It will be shared with the PVD control officer or the consultant or the municipal officer so that the remedial measures, preventive measures can be taken. And Apex Referral Laboratory is for the backup support, advanced diagnostic facilities they have. They can do the virus isolation. They can say the serotype 1, 2, 3, 4, which is in circulation, capacity building of the laboratory team, and the quality control of the service. So vector management. What is a recommended vector management strategy? Source reduction for elimination of the vector breeding, selective use of the larvicide, then biological control, that is larvivorous species, that is also selective, personal protection to avoid the mosquito bite, then indoor space spray inside the household from where the cases are reported, then fogging during the outbreak, then legislation, mosquito proofing of the houses so that mosquito entry is prevented. So these are the strategies you have to follow for management, vector management. So what are the methods or tools we are having? Source reduction, that is, I said, that is detection and elimination of the breeding containers. Larviciding in the positive container, that is Temefos. 50% ECs there. Some granules are also used by certain states and municipalities. Pyrethrum extract, cyphenotrine is used for indoor space spray. For outdoor, technical malathion. Technical malathion you have to remember, and cyphenotrine 5%, and gambusia for biological control. There are many other vector control tools like Wolbachia, then there's sterile insect technique, genetically modified mosquito, then this ATSB, there's no there's a sugar treated bait, but these are not yet to be established. They are epidemiological efficacy, and it is a vast subject. I'm not dealing here now. Breeding habitats, mosquito look for the breeding habitats. So normally in a house, there will be, there's typically 19 areas where the Aedes mosquito can breed. In addition to that, there are breeding places, innumerable breeding places. You see, these are typical breeding places I'm sharing with you. All these are in the waste collection, and there are many containers, receptacles are there. Every container, it can collect it can withhold rainwater, and it can support this breeding. There's wrecked vehicles, then industrial junk everywhere. So faulty design allowing Aedes breeding, you see. These are also very important areas. Building construction. So prevention of dengue, dengue breeding in the construction site, what you have to see there. And these localities where water accumulation is there, the drainage is there, all those areas. Intensified IEC. People has to be made aware of, they have to be sensitized. Mass media campaign can be done. The community-based activities through religious leader, elected representatives can be carried out. Messages in public places. Then interpersonal communication, it should be avoided, of course, now in the COVID. Then involvement of the school children. The school children is a very, it can be very effective brand ambassador, like Little Champ we have already mentioned in our MBCR document. Community empowerment and source reduction. Through the IEC, we have to inculcate this habit of the community so that they can take care by themselves. Our dengue cases, they increase from the monsoon season. So there need to be one triggering factor. What is that? That is a National Dengue Day. Before the monsoon arrives in the country, on the 16th May of every year, across the country, we observe this as National Dengue Day so that we can accelerate the pre-monsoon preventive activities by all the states and municipalities, and it has to be continued till the transmission is over. Now, a little bit about the vaccine. Vaccine is not yet ready, you can say. There are certain vaccines like Sanofi Pasteur's Danvaxia. It is of course ready, and almost 42 to 48 countries probably it has licensed. This vaccine, it is not in India, this license is not yet given, and it was introduced in Philippines under the school health program, but due to some adverse effect, it has to roll back. This vaccine, actually, it has to be given in 3 doses, 0, 6, and 12 months interval. And then 9 years over, age group that can be, this vaccine can be given. But one issue is there, this vaccine cannot be given to the naive population. If somebody has already got infected or affected by dengue, then only it will enhance the immunity. That's why this vaccine has this drawback. The another vaccine which is almost ready, phase 3 trial has been completed, and this is Takeda vaccine. This vaccine is also live attenuated, and it is in 2 doses, then the 0 to 3 months interval, and it can be given to the age group. Target age group is 4 to 16 years. So this vaccine is, they will be now applying for license in countries. The other vaccine is Tetravax. It is also phase 3 trial is under process. It's not like that India is not having any vaccine development process. There are Panacea, then Serum Institute of India, ICGB, and Sun Pharma. They are also in the process, but it is in the preclinical stage. What are the challenges? India, we know our population. So it has diverse eco-epidemiology. The epidemiology in the Northeast India is totally different from Gujarat. And if you go to Himachal or Rajasthan, then it is totally different from Madhya Pradesh or Kerala or Tamil Nadu. So everywhere we need to have local and situation specific our strategy. Water shortage is one of the major reasons, and it is not only in India, across the globe. Unplanned, unurbanized, and concurrent population growth, suboptimal solid waste management, as said. Then all these, most of the issues already I have discussed. So, and threat of emerging Aedes-borne chikungunya and Zika, because there's piggybacking on Zika, dengue program, we have to take control of this chikungunya and Zika. So these are the major challenges. So friends, this is my last slide. Dengue do not respect any boundary. It can affect any class, gender, or age, but it is preventable. We have our there's a Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. There's our source reduction activities can be linked there. When we talk about dengue, people always focus in the residential areas only. We need to have policy and planning for workplace. Workplace intervention is needed. Industry, we need separate type of planning. Construction places, we need separate type of planning. Then project areas, temporary settlement. For everywhere, we need to have separate type of plannings. So this all, I think, I have come to the end of my presentation. I will stop sharing here. Thank you. Over to you, PK.
Thanks, Dr. Kalpana Barua, for excellent presentation. Now I request Dr. PK Srivastava kindly conclude the session.
I think there will be many questions. We can respond to the question by email or.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
Good evening, everybody. There are 3-4 questions, important questions which people they have raised.
Okay.
But since the time is already lot of these things, very important questions which we will be sending you, Dr. Kalpana.
Yeah.
There are 4 questions basically which I have noted down.
Are we going to answer now?
No, the basic, okay. There are 3-4 questions which we will be responding, but you can just, for other benefit's sake, I'll just read it. That
Okay.
somebody has requested that if there is any reference paper for effect of virus and mosquitoes, so it can be shared with them. The second one
Sorry.
is
Virus and?
reference paper for effect of virus and mosquito.
Okay.
Then the another question is how many bites are required to cause the disease?
It's a single bite.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Infected mosquito, how many generations virus is transmitted? For how many generations the virus is transmitted?
Yeah, there are some these laboratory studies which shows up to some, I mean there is from that the particular single infected there's Aedes adult up to 17th generation. Means it's not that she will be laying 17 brood, but from the brood, first progeny to second progeny, that will again pass the virus, like that up to 17 brood traces of virus were detected.
Thank you. And there is a last question which I also could not understand. After tot, merging of Aedes mosquito first day can transmit dengue or not? I just could not understand. So we will.
After?
I do not know. After tot, TOT. After tot merging.
TOT might be transovarian transmission.
Yes, transvariant transmission after tot merging of Aedes. That merging means that must be emerging. He must have been typing mistake. Yeah. So after emerging of Aedes mosquito first day, whether they can transmit the dengue or not. Anyway, then the questions will be definitely answered. And if though the time is already up, Dr. R.R. Sharma and Dr. R.S. Sharma, I just want to, for all the benefit of the participant, I just want to show 3 slides for their information if it is permissible.
Yes. Sure.
Okay. Thank you. This is for everybody. Is it okay?
Yes.
So this is basically on behalf of Absolute Human Care Foundation, as informed by, thanked rather by Dr. Kalpana Barua for the 5 directors. You can also visit our site on www.absolutehumancarefoundation.com. And if you wish, you can email to us on absolutehumancarefoundation@gmail.com. I am just sharing these slides because last minute some of the interested people who could not join, they asked how to join, where to go, and what not to do. Then the second very important thing, we started on 18th of July, keeping our finger crossed in COVID, just to help with the social service. Whatever we have learned in the life, we wanted to share with all of you. And I am little proud of telling on behalf of all my colleagues that the number of participants, if you see, it has enormously increased in only 5 sessions, whereas we have planned roughly around 40 sessions. So you have to be a little patient and see how many people they can be attached with us. So this is basically this is acceptance for our capacity building program. This is very, very encouraging for all of us. And the group which is included, this is composite of a different group. Look here, from this state is definitely a compiled one for the state, districts and periphery. So 256 people they have registered from the state, 10 are from the university, and they are increasing. Today it will be little more. Than researchers are 7. From corporate sector there are 5. I'm very proud of the corporate sector and I wish to thank them. National Vector-Borne Disease Control Program headquarters, this is 13, and NCDC there are 11 people. There are also increasing. Then there are 3 stakeholders. I'm also thankful for PATH and other stakeholders who have joined. Then there are experts who, I mean, from the national level, from different people who are not included in, experts from ICMR, experts from senior people from program, whether it's central program or the state people. And then including there are 3 WHO experts are also with us. that we expect that it may be little more in coming sessions. So this is all I just wanted to tell. And because every day people are increasing, we find it little difficult to address their name, because some people, they say that Redmi or Oppo or their mobile, so their name is not there. I'll request you that if you can put in chat box, or you can send on the email which I have shared, your name, mobile, email, affiliation, and city, state, and expertise, so that your expertise is also available with us, so that in the state or center or district, if some program is launched, you can be our resource person as well. So these are the certain things which I just wanted to share with you. And I really thank Dr. Kalpana Barua. Let me stop sharing.
There are many important questions, but I don't think.
Okay, you can answer. There is no
quickly,
problem.
Yeah. Someone has asked, is there any herd immunity? You see, there are 4 serotypes, and one person, one human being in his or her lifetime can be affected by dengue 4 times. And if it is in the first time, after first time, immunity will be developed, and second time, it will be more complications will be created, because the first immunity already there for one serotype, and the second serotype, it will again raise the immunity to the different type of serotype, and there will be the immunity class, you can say. There will be two type of armies will be there, so there will be more complication. And if it is the third serotype, it will be worsening, and fourth time totally it will be out of control. And one question was, only mosquito serosurveillance is doing by one particular institute only. I will like to inform here, no, it is not true. Many institutes are doing that. Even the person who has raised, they can also establish this activity. I mean, they can also do this in their laboratory with minimal this equipment. Thank you. Thank you. Over. Over to you, directors.
Dr. Shrivastava ji.
Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
I'm sorry. I am seeing Dr. Rajpal Yadav from Geneva headquarters, whose talk is tomorrow, very important topic. So I will request all those people who have joined today, if they are interested, they can just send an email so that we will share with them also tomorrow's flapper. And I wish Dr. Rajpal Yadav, if you want to say something, sir, from Geneva.
So first of all, thank you so much. And I really compliment Dr. Kalpana for giving a very excellent talk and gave lot of basic information about the virus transmission dynamics. So that's really good. I just wanted to add that although she listed couple of insecticides for space spraying or fogging, but actually there are many more which are recommended by WHO, and I do not know whether they are all registered in India for use or not. But I think there are several new products that are available. And the most recent one is called Cielo, C-I-E-L-O, that contains pyrethrin, which is a pyrethroid, and imidacloprid, which is a neonicotinoid compound. So this is completely new mode of action formulation, which has been pre-qualified by WHO for tackling insecticide-resistant mosquitoes. So that is one information I wanted to give you. The second thing is that in terms of space spraying in the COVID time, of course, we have already had another presentation some other day that in the present situation during corona problem, we are not recommending space spraying at present because of the obvious reasons that people should not be exposed to those insecticides. The only suggestion some other times, Dr. Kalpana, you can probably take a lecture on sampling of larvae or pupae, which is pupil demographic surveys or vector surveillance for Aedes, which is a very important topic. So maybe some other time.
Yeah,
So that's what
because
I wanted to.
it is such a vast subject, you cannot complete in
It is there, sir. It is there in
lecture.
our curriculum. Adult survey and larval survey, it is there.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So I think make them separate lectures, because they themselves are separate topics and need a lot of information. So thank you so much, and I hope that most of you I will see tomorrow at the same time when I speak on insecticide resistance monitoring, management, and different test criteria that is recommended by WHO, and some more information about new compounds that are being tested for preparing filter papers. Right now, you have only few compounds, but we are now currently doing a multi-center study. I think we will have more time tomorrow to discuss that. To you.
Rajpal, I request Dr. Our one director, Dr. Rakesh Sharma, I am saying, sir, just say a few words before we close out today's session.
I welcome Dr. R.S. Yadav. It is our privilege to have with us, and I am requesting all the participants and maybe more to join the session tomorrow to listen to you tomorrow. So, sir, first of all, I welcome you for tomorrow's session. Secondly, I convey my thanks to Dr. Kalpana Barua for a very nice and professional presentation, which he used to communicate and interact when I was in the department, and used to travel and meet NVDCP officials there. Dr. Srivastava, I would like to add here that you talked about the participants from different spheres which have joined today, more than 200. I had an idea which I was thinking in my mind, and I'm sharing with you all today, that more and more people outside India can be connected. And I think the expertise of the Indian scientists and the scientists at the level of Dr. R.S. Yadav, we can expand it if you all agree, and we can put in efforts to our friends in, I talked to some people in Namibia, Botswana, Zimbabwe, and South Africa. So we will make a connectivity between the scientists from India and scientists from Africa. It just came in my mind. So this we are forcing to expand our activities.
No, absolutely. See, this is 500 people. Let me thank you very much for this thought, and connecting from this webinar series, listening for all of our talk. Basically, we are all Indian, and we are proud of that. Our own colleagues are there in WHO Geneva and maybe in different states, even in US also. So it is always, they are always welcome if they want to listen our talks. If they want a separate talk, then they have to arrange something different.
The small journey, Dr. Srivastava, I give you solely credit to Dr. R.S. Sharma and Dr. P.K. Srivastava for this entire venture. And I think this travel is going to be a very long travel. And with the presence of Dr. R.S. Yadav today and tomorrow, we are going to listen him, and the government officials, I think we are going to take this to different heights. So with these words, I thanks to all the participants, and Dr. P.K. Srivastava, you can sum up for Dr. R.S. Srivastava. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Then I will close down today's session and welcome you for tomorrow, same time. So every day we are meeting on every Saturday and Sunday. Rajivji, thank you. Okay, and everybody, bye-bye. Thank you, Dr. Kalpana, for all the very nice presentation.
Okay,
Dr.
bye.
Nagpal,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Dr. Sinha.
I'll send my slides to Dr.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Kalpana, for nice presentation.
Very nice.
Thank you, Dr. Nagpal.
Very nice.
Thank you. Welcome.
Very nice presentation.
Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you, Kalpana.
Hello, madam. Hello.
Very nice presentation. Thank you, madam.
बहुत अच्छा पालीवाल साहब नमस्कार. Thank you.
Hello. Please share your presentation in email ID.
Sorry.
Somebody is asking Kalpana only.
Yeah, who is that?
Hello, madam.
Yeah, who is that? Introduce yourself.
Please share this presentation in my email ID.
Who are you? First tell me.
Sir, madam, I'm myself Digantonath, District Vector-borne Disease Consultant, Sonitpur, Assam.
Okay, from my own district.
Yeah, Sonipur belongs
I'm
to
from
you.
Sonipur, yes.
Yeah.
नहीं घर का
Thank you, madam.
घर वालों को जरूर दो.
Yeah. तुली साहब भी कहीं दिखे थे पहले, कहाँ
साहब है, कहाँ है मैडम? वीडियो ऑन करे ना ये लोग अपना.
आपने मना किया है, सबने बंद कर दिया.
नहीं, अब तो सबका खुल गया. मैंने तो ऑन कर दिया सबके लिए.
सबका नहीं खुला है सर.
अभी ऑफ है.
सभी का ऑफ है सर. ये आपके एंड से खुलेगा.
नहीं, आप अपने वीडियो को ऑन कर सकते हैं. आप मैंने
नहीं कर सकते हैं सर अभी भी.
इसका है नाम बताइए.
डॉक्टर अरुण चौहान दिस साइड.
People liked my presentation.
डॉक्टर अरुण चौहान दिस साइड. स्टिल क्लोज सर.
चलो लेट अस डिस्कस टुमारो हैं.
ओके. चलो बाय. हाय सिन्हा साहब की फोटो तो आ गई.
नमस्कार सर.
सिन्हा साहब दो सिन्हा है. देखिए प्रदीप कुमार सिन्हा, ये हमारे पुराने दोस्त हैं. एटीएस सिन्हा झारखंड.
नमस्कार. शुभ रात्रि.
अच्छा.
ओ सिन्हा साहब को नमस्कार.
नमस्कार.
दिवाकर जी भी आ गए. देखिए
Yeah, I can see Dr. Divakar, ATS.
No, there are many people today. 153 it crossed at one point of time.
Madam, very thank you.
Thank you.
कहाँ है डॉक्टर प्रधान?
अंजू.
तुम्हारी तो. How are you? You are all right now?
Yeah, all right.
See, I am sitting in Kerala, Dr. Anju.
It's not like Kerala, sir. Goa.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Nice presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. If people liked it, it's my pleasure.
Yeah. Kalpana ma'am, I am Dr. Meenakshi.
Meenakshi, I got your WhatsApp message also.
Yeah, it was a very nice presentation, ma'am. I got lot of new information.
Dr. Meenakshi, open your video.
Yeah, I can't open.
I am opening.
She's at home and not well, I think.
No. Initially she did.
No.
Now it has come. Namaskar.
Hi, Meenakshi. Hi.
Yeah. Hi, madam. Thank you. So what is the topic for
Dr. Meenakshi, long dream has come now true.
Yeah.
But PK, Goa में बैठे हो?
Thank you very much.
Hi, Meenakshi.
Yeah.
Good to see
Sir,
you.
what is the topic for tomorrow? Tomorrow's topic?
Insecticide resistance monitoring.
Okay.
Every Saturday, Sunday we are holding because we do not want to disturb your official work.
But we used to have
Okay.
some other meetings during that time, sir, most often. So
7:30 to 8:30 we have fixed for that period only. That's why most of the people are joining.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Anybody wants? Anybody?
Bye.
Dr. Pradhan is gone.
डॉक्टर प्रधान कहाँ है?
उनको तो ज्वाइन कर लिए. उनका तबीयत तो ठीक नहीं था.
हाँ वही.
बाद में शुरू होने के बाद सारे लोगों ने अपना बंद कर दिया था. काफी आवाज बहुत लेट बंद हुआ. मगर
कम से कम 10 मिनट टाइम आज उसी में ही गया.
1-2 लोगों का ना वो कितना तो पूरा डिटेल मैंने वो पेपर भी भेज रखा है. सबको बोल रखा है.
बिल्कुल.
आज इसीलिए मैंने बोला था कि पता लग जाएगा नाम किसका है तो पता. अरुण चौहान.
थैंक यू मैम. थैंक यू सर. सर मेरा वीडियो अभी भी ऑन नहीं हो रहा है. लास्ट टाइम भी ऑन नहीं हुआ था.
डॉक्टर मुलुंग
ऑन तो हो गया.
अब हुआ है सर. अभी आपने किया.
डॉक्टर मुलुंग, आर यू देयर? डॉक्टर मुलुंग.
थैंक यू मैम.
Yes, madam, I am there.
Oh yeah, this is from Arunachal, PK.
I have already given the permission for starting video. There are some people who are regularly doing. Like this, one is NVBDCP. We do not understand what is from the NVBDCP.
NVBDCP right from Delhi to district. Everywhere NVBDCP.
Or is there? I just wanted to see if somebody wants to say something. $37 लोग बचे हैं अभी.
Yeah, question time.
Where is Dr. Pradhan?
Dr. Pradhan.
Dr. Monu Pradhan.
Sushmita Rani.
You can see many people's name from Assam. Torali Thakuria. Torali Kaur.
Hello, ma'am. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, ma'am. Ma'am, moi Rahim. Assam পৰা কৈ আছো, ma'am. Darang district.
Darang district. Okay.
What is the name? Who is
Hi,
that?
sir.
Rahim
Ali Ahmed. Sir.
1 minute.
Yes, sir.
1 minute. I have allowed you for starting video.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now he has come.
Ma'am, moi
he started speaking in Assamese.
No issue, no issue.
Yeah, Rahim, kwa, mo kuni aso. Video.
Hi, ma'am. আমি ডেঙ্গু
তোমার ভিডিওটো বন্ধ কৰি দিয়াচোন অডিও লাইটৰ প্ৰবলেম হয় ভিডিও বন্ধ কৰা কোৱা
কৰিছ
না
মেম আমি মানে যেটো ডেঙ্গু কেস বিলাক যেতি আমি পাও ইনভেস্টিগেশন কৰো তো মেম তাতে অলপ এটা কনফিউজন আছে মানে কেস ডেফিনিশন টু লগত মানে কেস ডেফিনিশন টু আৰু ৰিজাল্ট টু আহে তাৰ লগত সিমিলাৰিটি নাথাকে মানে
ৰহিম you do one thing তুমি তোমাৰ ইমেইল কথা বা মই তোমাৰ নম্বৰ লৈ পেলাই নহয় মই গুৱাহাটীৰ পৰা নম্বৰ লম লৈ পেলাই তোমাৰ লগত কথা পাতিম ইয়াত তো your voice is cracking I'm not getting anything I'll try to help you okay telephone কথা পাতি লম
okay ma'am sure hi ma'am
sir one more doubt I may ask one doubt whether is there any report of Aedes aegypti acting as vector in India
no
who is talking
Anju oh yeah ma'am identified my
our question bank
any reports of Aedes aegypti as vector I am not opening my video sir
no, okay don't yeah
so yeah
Anju Aedes aegypti you look like that as if you were just sleeping and just got up
no
yeah Aedes aegypti in some laboratory study or somewhere some papers are there but it is actually not playing any role in dengue transmission okay
papers are there no from Africa and some other places like that Aedes aegypti is acting like vector then
it not active role
okay and one more thing ma'am den 5 is also there no
sorry
den 5 serotype
no there was only one paper from Malaysia and it was not accepted and not recognized even by WHO also
okay thank you ma'am bye good night
okay you can ask me later on
okay thank you
she is handed over to you
okay
so let us close down finally
yeah
okay bye thank you Kalpana it was really very nice presentation thank you Arun
thank you
bye good night sir
bye.
Thank you
RS Sharma बंद कर दिया
हाँ गए
okay I'm also leaving the meeting okay
bye